Hi, everyone. We're here at the January MIF conference in beautiful Vancouver. I'm here with Scott Emerson, who is president of Kingsmen Resources. Scott, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Peter.
Pleasure. And you've got some exciting developments with Kingsmen. Let's jump right into it, and you can tell us all about the company's story.
Sure. What I can tell you is Kingsman was put together in the fall of 2022, post-COVID. I went, along with my project geologist, I traveled to Mexico. I had a mandate at that time to identify a silver project, but I guess more importantly, part of my mandate was to identify a project that had never been held by a junior. So during the course of 2022 and into the first half of 2023, we had looked at approximately 16 different projects, all within Chihuahua. And through that process, we identified what we now call the Los Coloradas project. That project was part of that project had the old past producing Los Coloradas mine on it. It was a project that operated from 1944 to 1952 by Asarco, Grupo de Mexico, which is now Grupo de Mexico. And then at that time in 1952, while they were continuing to mine, they got into a dispute with the 14 claim holders that held that ground. They were never successful at renegotiating that, and they subsequently left the area, and it sat idle for the better part of 40 years.
Wow. So that brings us where we are today with an excellent opportunity for you.
Correct. Yeah. So at that time, a lot of the juniors and senior companies had left because of COVID. And that really opened up an opportunity that I saw was to consolidate an entire district. And when I say that, I not only renegotiated those 14 claim holders to bring in the one package, I then was able to negotiate with the claim holders that surrounded that to create an area of about 3 miles by 3 square miles.
So, I mean, the area has a long history. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the importance of that history, what it's done for, what it's contributed to silver mining.
So Chihuahua as a state is ranked third in production, national production in Mexico. And in particular, Parral was a mining hub back in the day. It had a mine that operated there for 240 years, plus or minus a few years, called La Perita. And that's what Parral was built around. And then if you talk about the surrounding area, we've got neighbors such as Los Gatos, or Gatos Silver, which was just recently sold. We've got Kootenai Silver. We've got Santa Barbara. So we've got a number of major mines in that region. And again, that was what attracted us to that Parral district where we are.
Excellent. Your pre-discovery.
Yes.
So that's important for people to understand. Why do you consider Las Coloradas so promising? I mean, what sort of feeds into that thesis?
Yeah, I would say, Peter, that an analogy that's used in our industry is the best place to find a mine is where there was one.
Right.
And Las Coloradas presents that opportunity. They had only mined a 300-meter section. They had mined it to a depth of 150 meters until they hit the water table. And there's been no drilling along strike or at depth. We, through a sampling program this summer, we did over 400 surface samples. We have extended the 2 structures we identified, one of which the Las Coloradas mine sits on, for 1.7 kilometers and 1.4 kilometers respectively. So our whole idea here is that mineralization came from somewhere.
Right.
And with no prior drilling along strike or at depth, that's the model that we're going after right now.
Excellent.
Grades at the time, during in the 40s and early 50s, they ran as high as 630 grams per ton, and we've subsequently been able to replicate those results on surface along those entire strike lengths. So that's where the excitement comes from.
Absolutely.
That's
and that's important. I think that people will look at silver and silver projects, and I think from experience that should be a focus, to look for the projects that have either historically the high grades or drilling and finding these high grades. And, we can go in through any kind of economic stresses. But the higher grade projects, especially on decent widths, are the ones that provide the potential to kind of withstand some of these tests.
Correct. And I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think, when I'm quoting those numbers, those are true silver values. Those aren't silver equivalent.
Right.
That's straight silver. The project also had a gold, lead, zinc as well, but we're focused right now just on the high grade silver. Yeah.
That's these from experience, again, these are rare beasts to find these mostly either mostly silver or even rare pure silver, but high grade silver, decent widths. There's a handful of these kinds of things these days, and I just think that they're going to command a premium.
I would agree, and I think the only reason that myself or Kingsmen was able to do this, and you never like to say good things came out of COVID,
Right.
but this really was one of those opportunities where everything shut down. The political environment in Mexico was kind of frowned upon, and it scared a lot of people away. And I looked at that as really opportunity, and I still see it as that way. There's still, I believe, a lot of opportunity in Mexico. We're seeing a changing political environment there now, and we're excited. We think value is driven by the drill bit.
Right.
And I know you're going to probably ask me, but the company has 23 million shares outstanding. It's very tightly held.
Yeah.
It has no debt. We have $1.6 million in capital in the company, so we've got enough to do our first drill program. And I hope, that drill bit does drive value,
Sure.
because in that case, we're going to see share appreciation, and it'll give me an opportunity to raise money at higher levels.
Exactly. Now, if we talk a little more specific in terms of drill targets and so on, you, in your presentation a little earlier, talked about something that was identified, the saddle target. Maybe you can tell us about how that came about and the prospectivity of it.
Sure. So the saddle target is 2.5 miles from the area that we're currently focused on. And the saddle target was part of a piece of ground that Coeur had originally owned that I had acquired. Coeur had never drilled, but they had done a lot of mapping, a lot of sampling, and they did geophysics over that area. And something about the state of Chihuahua is Penasquito, which is a very famous operating mine right now.
Right.
You would call that, they discovered that from blind mineralization,
Wow.
which means they could see nothing on surface. Wow. And through the reprocessing of the data that we had captured, we can see two high chargeability anomalies. And between those two sits what we call the saddle target.
Okay.
Then when you go further out on regional geophysics that were done by the government of Mexico, if you looked at Parral, which is approximately 38 miles away, they had the famous La Perita mine that operated for 240 years. It sits on a mag high. So right now we're saying, wow, this could be a separate project in itself outside of what we currently have. So that's what we're excited about, is that there's more than just this opportunity that we've identified at Las Coloradas. Now we have what's called the saddle target. And again, we have 2.5 miles in between those two areas. That's all pure exploration. It's wide open at present.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
Again, we've only been active for a little over 27 months.
Right.
So we've done a lot.
Absolutely.
And, we'll see what the drill bit shows us in March of this year.
Sure.
Is when we're going to begin our program.
Excellent. So lots of blue sky, lots of things to watch for. You mentioned that, but maybe you can just tell us in a little bit more detail over the next few quarters, maybe the kinds of catalysts to watch for.
I think the catalyst to watch for is we're going to be doing some ground geophysics. So we'll probably do some geophysics in and around that old Las Coloradas mine. That's going to help us, again, drive the drill bit to make sure we're drilling where we think we should be drilling. We'll be doing that again over the saddle target. We'll run some lines over that. And then in March, we're going to start a 6,000, 8,000 meter drill program. So typically, unless you have 6-week turnaround time on your assays.
Right.
And, if the chief geologist sees something in that core while we're drilling, obviously as a junior company, we're going to rush that. So you may
Sure.
see results sooner than the end of April or early
Okay.
May, but we'll see how it goes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that overview of Kingsman. It sounds like exciting times, and encourage people to watch developments. This is, I think, a little bit of a rare beast in the sector. Virgin territory in some ways, so to speak. Like you say, no junior has explored this.
That's correct.
And really nice high grade silver historically. So something definitely to watch.
Stay tuned. Thank you.